This is a report on the hidden Jesus, what religions don't want you to know. This is the veil of deception.
You might think you know the story of Yeshua, but what if our sources suggest a crucial part of his original message was deliberately hidden, obscured by layers of history and dogma?
Exactly. This deep dive is all about revealing what these ancient reports actually call the veil of deception.
The veil of deception. Okay.
Yeah, we're exploring, historical discoveries like the Nag Hammadi library, long suppressed gospels.
Right.
And these texts, they paint a radically different picture of Yeshua. And importantly, the God he spoke of, the veil here, really refers to that deliberate obscuring, that reinterpretation of his core message.
So our mission today is to unpack this fascinating material for you, help you understand how Yeshua's message, according to these particular sources, might have been, reinterpreted, maybe to serve institutional power rather than, say, spiritual liberation. So let's start at the very heart of it, the divine figures involved. Our sources, when you dive deep into Scripture, they point to this really stark contrast. It's between the Old Testament's depiction of Yahweh and the figure Yeshua calls his father.
It's quite striking. They highlight passages like Exodus 32, where Moses orders the killing of 3,000 people.
On Yahweh's command.
On Yahweh's command, yes.
Yep.
Or Numbers 31, the slaughter of the Midianites. These acts are presented as, righteous under Yahweh's command in those texts.
Okay, so that's one picture. But how does Yeshua fit in, or rather not fit in?
Well, what's fascinating here in these accounts is that Yeshua himself never seems to equate this Yahweh figure with his own father.
Never.
He actually openly challenged the religious establishment. He tells the Pharisees in John 8:44, "You are of your father, the devil."
Wow, that's direct.
Very. And these sources interpret that statement as implying their God, the one they followed, was not his father.
Okay.
And then you have Matthew 11:27, where he claims exclusive knowledge of the Father, but again, no link to Yahweh.
So it raises a big question then. If his execution was for blasphemy, like Mark 14 records.
Exactly. What message was he truly blaspheming against, according to these texts? Whose authority was he undermining?
And this wasn't just talk, right? Our sources point to actual movements, early Christian groups who acted on this.
Yes, indeed. This leads us to a really interesting turn in the historical record. Groups like the Marcionites, around 140 CE.
Marcionites, right.
They created their own version of a Christian canon. And Marcion's canon, the sources explain, it only included an edited Luke and 10 Pauline epistles.
And the key thing?
The key thing is he pointedly removed references to Yahweh and the entire Old Testament. Gone.
Just cut it out.
Completely. These early groups, it's argued, saw Yeshua's message as liberation from what they considered the false god of the Jews, Yahweh.
Okay, those are some powerful claims about Yeshua's real message and challenge. So how, according to these sources, did the institutional church respond?
Well, the sources describe the Catholic Church's response as, a significant strategic move, a power move, really.
How so?
They detail how the church established its own canon, crucially adding Yahweh back in, declaring him the father of Yeshua.
So the opposite of Marcion.
Precisely. And branding Marcion a heretic. This, according to these texts, it forged what they actually label a fusion religion.
Fusion?
Yes, like Yeshua plus Yahweh equals Catholic Christianity. And they contend this move led directly to the active suppression of dissenting writings, persecution of followers, basically limiting, in their view, people's ability to think for themselves on this.
Which brings us to those suppressed writings. Thanks to discoveries like the Nag Hammadi library in 1945.
A huge discovery.
We now have historical evidence. Gospels like Thomas, Judas, Mary Magdalene.
Yeah, and the implications here are pretty profound. These texts, they offer radically different insights.
Like the Gospel of Thomas.
Right. Thomas, for example, it really emphasizes self-knowledge, inner divinity. It says, the kingdom is inside you and it is outside you. When you come to know yourselves, you will realize you are the children of the living Father.
And notably,
no crucifixion or resurrection story in Thomas. It's just not there.
Interesting. And Judas, we think we know that story.
Well, the Gospel Judas turns it on its head. It portrays Judas not as a traitor, but as the disciple who understood Yeshua best.
Understood him best.
How? By helping him, according to this specific text, shed the prison of his flesh and, importantly, expose the wrong God.
Expose the wrong God. Okay. And Mary Magdalene.
The Gospel of Mary elevates her as Yeshua's closest disciple and trusted with secret knowledge, actually challenging the authority of the male disciples.
So these Gospels consistently show a different Yeshua.
Consistently. A revealer of hidden wisdom, an opponent of Yahweh's law as they saw it, a guide to inner liberation. Definitely not presented as a sacrificial lamb for Yahweh.
And the sources suggest the suppression of these views wasn't accidental. You mentioned councils like Nicaea in 325 CE.
Yes, after councils like Nicaea, Gospels that didn't align with the now forming Orthodox view were systematically sidelined, destroyed even.
So connecting the dots, this veil of deception.
It was woven, these sources suggest, specifically to merge the violent Yahweh figure with Yeshua's message of a loving father.
Why? What was the purpose?
To create a system, they argue, that fostered spiritual obligation through fear and guilt rather than Yeshua's supposed message of inner freedom and knowing the divine within. Control, essentially.
So the argument is he died not to fulfill the law of Yahweh.
But because he fundamentally challenged that law, challenged Yahweh, and exposed the religious establishment as false in their interpretation, it suggests control rather than liberation became a primary outcome of how his story was shaped.
So wrapping this up, what does this deep dive potentially reveal for you listening?
Well, it certainly unveils a powerful historical process described in these sources, a process of rewriting, suppressing, and, rebranding Yeshua's original, perhaps radical message.
It definitely raises a challenging question, doesn't it?
It does. If the conventional narrative we've inherited was potentially shaped even partly to maintain a system of control, what other truths might still be obscured, still waiting just under the surface, waiting for us to rediscover them?
Maybe consider how directly engaging with original knowledge, going beyond just the curated versions, might empower you to uncover your own sense of that hidden Father, that divine spark within. Something to think about.